Hi everyone, it's Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with another fun beading tutorial for you. Before I get started, as usual, don't forget to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you always know when we're posting new content. Okay guys, so today we're going to be making this little cute guy. I named him Carl. He's a turkey. He's a Thanksgiving turkey and he's made of ELITE Eureka Crystal bicones and some other glass beads, which I will show you in a moment. You can make this guy into just a little figurine that you can put on your table or your cupboard or your desk, or it can be a pin like this one here. I used a butterfly clutch to attach it, just like this. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So why don't we talk about the supplies? So to make this lovely bird, you're going to need several ingredients. When it comes to beads, you're going to need exactly 7 2-hole dagger beads in their common strands, so you don't have to worry about their holes. They won't be blocked most probably. You're going to need also some bicones, and here I have 3mm bicones, 4mm bicones, and 5mm bicones. You're going to need 9 of the 3mm bicones, 13 of the 4mm bicones, and 6 of the 5mm bicones. And when it comes to other beads, you're going to need some size 11 demi-round beads, exactly 4 Toho or Miyuki bugle beads for the little legs, and exactly 1 MiniDuo bead for the beak of our lovely turkey. Now, if you want it to just be a figurine, that's fine. It's going to stand on its own, but you can also make it into a pin or a brooch. And for this, I have here this butterfly clutch that's going to be helpful. It has a little plate that we're going to attach our beading to. And that's it for the supplies. When it comes to tools and other things you might need, here I have a size 12 needle. I recommend a thinner one, but I think size 11 or even 10 might work as well. And here I have some 4LB firelight in the color smoke, because I thought that white might be too white or the crystal color might be too light and the black might be too dark. So smoke or gray will be actually perfect. And that's it. Maybe you'll need some scissors to cut off the excess thread. But that's all the materials we're going to need. Let's start. One more thing, a bead stopper might be useful at the beginning of your work, but if you don't have one, just go through one demi-round bead like 3 times to secure it on the thread, and it should help you start your work off without all the beads sliding away. So I already put about half a wingspan of thread on my needle, not too much, but I'm also going to keep the tail until the very end so that it's easier for me to grab onto my work, grabbing on my tail of the thread. And also, if anything happens or if I don't have enough thread at the end, I can always use the tail to go and finish my work. So I'm just going to put the bead stopper right here. And let's start. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up all of the 7 2-hole dagger beads, and I'm going to be picking them up by their more outer hole, so the one that's on the tip of the bead. Right like that. And now I'm going to slide them all the way to the end of my thread, that is to the bead stopper. And I'm going to go right back through the other hole of the dagger bead. And this is going to be our tail. Now I'm going to take my demi-rounds and I'm going to go around placing 1 demi-round in between each of these second holes of the dagger beads. Now, as you can see, what we've created is sort of a fan, and as you might guess, this is going to be the tail of our turkey. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight back through that bottom hole of the dagger bead. And I'm going to go through 2 of the daggers here. I'm going to pull a little bit so that they don't get too far apart from each other. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up 1 demi round, 1 4mm bicone, 1 demi round, and I'm going to go right back through these same 2 holes into beads that I just came through a second ago, so that I add the bicone sort of on top of that. Now I'm going to go through the next 2 dagger beads, and I'm going to pick up demi round, a 4mm bicone, and I'm going to go right through that demi round here. So that I put the other 4mm bicone on top as well. I'm gonna go through these last 2 dagger beads that I went through. And then through 2 more of the dagger beads. And again, I'll pick up 1 demi round, 1 4mm bicone, and go through that previous bicone like that. And again, I'm gonna go through that first hole of these 2 dagger beads. And now normally we will go through 2 dagger beads if we wanted to add another sequence of demi round and a bicone, but the number is not even here. Don't worry, this won't matter in the end. So I'm picking up a demi round and a 4mm bicone anyway. And I'm going through that demi round here as well, just like that. I'm going around again through that dagger bead. And what I'll do now is I'll go right back through that demi round that I added before. It's going to sit just like this one. They're going to sit more like, not in line with all the other beads, but more like horizontally, so to speak. But anyway, I'm gonna go through all of these beads here, so all of the demi rounds and the bicones. So that I come out of the last bicone here. I'm not gonna go through this demi round over there that I added first, and not through the one that I added last. Now I'm just going to add one more sequence of demi round, 4mm bicone, and one more demi round to close the circle over there. Just like that. Well, the next step is kind of a right angle weave, like a bit of it, with 5mm bicones and 4mm bicones. So we're going to end up with 5mm bicones going up like this, and 4mm bicone creating another circle on top of them. So we're going to be doing the following. Whether you know right angle weave or not, it's going to be quite easy, and as I said, only a bit of it. So I'm picking up one 5mm bicone, one 4mm bicone, and another 5mm bicone. So it's like a 5, 4, 5. Now I'm gonna be going right through that bicone in here, as well as the demi round and the next bicone. And this is what we have. So we're making kind of the body of the turkey right now. So I went through the bicone that's in here, and then the next one. And I'm going to pick up a 5mm bicone, and then a 4mm bicone. So there's a 5 and a 4. And I'm gonna circle back down through the previous 5mm bicone in here. So that I create a sort of another wall around this circle of 4mm bicones that we have like in here. I'm gonna go through this 4mm here. As well as the demi round and the next 4mm bicone in the circle. And again, I'm picking up a 5mm and a 4mm bicone. Again, 5 and a 4. And I'm going to be going down through this bicone standing up in here. Now going forward through the 4mm below. And the next one. Make sure that you don't get your thread hooked on one of the dagger beads. As I said, it's just more comfortable to hold it by this tail thread that we have here. Anyway, so I'm coming out of this 4mm bead here. Now I'll pick up another 5mm and 4mm. And down again through that 5mm here. And forward through the 4mm in the first circle that we did. The last one in this extra set that we added that goes from one side of the tail to the other. I should be just going through the 4mm. And now this side is already done because this 5mm, that will be the one that we will be adding had it not been here. So I'm just going up through it, but we're still missing a 4mm here at the top. So I'm picking up a 4mm bicone and going down that previous 5mm bicone here. I'm going to make a circle so that I end up coming out of one of the beads at the top. Now we'll just make a circle out of these so that everything is a little bit more sturdy. Right, so this is what we have. Basically, two circles of 5 pieces of 4mm bicones right here on top, right here at the bottom, and these 5mm bicones like going up here on the sides. And this is, so to say, the trunk or the body of our bird. Okay, now let's give the little guy some legs. So looking at the tail, this is going to be like the bottom of our bird. Now I'm going to go again around in this circle of 4mm bicones that we have here so that I come out of one of the two beads here, the two bicones that are pointing down, sort of. So this one is pointing down with the hole, and this one as well. So I'm coming out of this one here, and what I'll do, I'll pick up 1 demi round, 2 bugles, and 3 demi rounds. And now I'm gonna slide it down my thread. And I'm actually going to skip these 3 demi rounds and go right into these bugles here and back through that bicone. And we have a little leg. You can also make it a little shorter by just adding 1 bugle, but in this way it can pretty much stand on its own a little bit better. So if you just want to make it a figurine to put on your table or somewhere, I recommend you make the legs this long. Now I'm going to go to the other bead that's pointing down, the other bicone, because we've just turned kind of back around when we block this leg here. So I'm coming out of the one on the other side, and I'll do the very same thing. 1 demi round, 2 bugles, 3 demi rounds, sliding them down my thread. And going back up through the bugles and the single demi. And the 3mm bicone, of course. And there we have the little legs. Now it's just a little headless bird. Alright then, why don't we give it a head? Now I want to be in the same position as before, so coming out of one of the bicones facing down, or like facing up and down with their hole actually. So I'm gonna come out of this one here. I'm gonna pull on my thread so that the legs get kind of a little stiffer. And now what I'll do is I'll pick up the 2 remaining 5mm bicones. And I'm gonna go right up this other bead here as if I was making a circle. Mind the legs. And they're gonna make sort of the breast of our turkey here. Now I'm gonna go around again to reach that 5mm pair that I just added. So I'm just going around that circle of 4mm beads, just like before, and I am coming out of one of these 5mm bicones that I added. And I will be adding a 3mm bicone in between them, just like that. So I'm going down through the other 5mm bicone, and I want to place it somewhat in between them. And you might have guessed we're just going to go around again. So I'm going to try to go through that 4mm bead as before. And again up through my 5mm bead. And through that 3mm bead here as well. And that's where I want to be coming out of. What I'm going to do now is I'll pick up one 4mm bead. And what I'm going to do is actually go through the 5mm bead right up here in the back towards the tail of our bird. This is going to kind of pull the entire thing back a little bit. Now I'll go and to the demi round that I have here right by the tail and the first row of beads that I added on top of the tail. And I'm gonna go right back around through the 5mm bicone. And I'll add a second 4mm. And I'm gonna go through this 3mm bicone from the other side. So this was the bead that I added previously on one side of the red 3mm bicone, and I'm adding a second one here. So this was just to kind of pull it all a little bit back. Now I'm going to go through these 3 beads as if they were like a sequence, a circle. And I'm gonna come out of this one of the 4mm over here. And this is kind of going to be our 3 bead base for the neck of the bird that we're going to be doing, with, again, sort of a right angle weave. Because what I'll be doing now is I'll pick up 3 3mm bicones, red in my case, and I'm going to go around the bead that my thread is coming out of here. So it's coming out of this brown 4mm, and I'm gonna go around it and create a sort of a wall above it here. Now I'll go through the other 4mm bicone on the other side, and I'll pick up 2 3mm, and I'm gonna go down through that last of the 3mm bicones that I added. And through that second of the 4mm bicones in here. Now through that initial 3mm bicone in the front, and up this next bicone that is vertical. Over here I have to add 1 more 3mm bicone on top, and I'll go down through this bicone here. So I have these 3, kind of this triangle of 3 3mm bicones on top. Now I want to be coming out of this bead that's back here, that's going kind of up. So I'm gonna go through again that first initial 3mm bead, then through the 4mm bead over here, and now I can go up, and then I can go up this bicone in over here. This is where I'm coming out of, and let's make the back of the turkey's head. So I have the last 4mm bicone in here, and what I'm gonna do now is I'll pick up another 3mm right with it, and now straight on to the beak. So I pick up the MiniDuo, and what I do is I'm going through this bicone bead in here. So this is one of the 3 beads that were added like on top. This is a triangle that's on top of this neck here. So it's right above this first 3mm that we added before, in between the 5s. And I'm pulling tight, and this is what I have. And now I go straight back through the MiniDuo in the same hole that I came through when I put it on, so that it kind of gets wrapped above this bicone in here. And I pick up the last 3mm bicone, and with it I go straight through that 4mm and that 3mm over here. Now is where you pull tight. Make sure that the beak is kind of facing the right way. And the one thing that I forgot to tell you about are 11-0s, because we are going to need some 11-0s for the eyes. So use any color you want your turkey eyes to be. I'm going to use just regular 11-0s in a jet or black if you're using Miyuki. Now, how do we add the eyes? I'm coming out of this 3mm on the back in here. And what I'll do is I'll go through the 4mm over here like that. I'll go up. And I actually need to go all the way in the triangle, so like I'm going through this 3mm and the other 3mm on the other side in here. So that I'm coming out of this bead over there. That's like a cheek maybe. And I pick up one of my eyes, the 111 round bead, and I'm going directly through the 3mm over here above the beak. And here's an eye. I'm going down through the other one. And actually this is a great moment before I add the second eye on this side to add the little turkey, what's it called? Like the thing it gargles with on top of its beak. So I'm going down through the beak, through the hole that I went down through the last time. Just for good measure, I secure it by going through that 3mm bead below. I go back up again through that same hole in the MiniDuo. Just like that, so it's kind of secured to both sides of the 3mm below it. Now I'm gonna pick up 2 demi rounds into the other hole on the beak. And there the turkey has its little snoot, I believe this might be called. What I do now is I go just like that through the first hole of the MiniDuo again. And just that, nothing more. And through that previous red bead, so the side with the eye, so that I can go back through the side that doesn't have an eye yet, like that. So I'll pick up another 11-0 and go through that 3mm bead that is pointing kind of backwards. And there the turkey has its other eye, like that. And it's snoot as well. Now, my thread is about to end actually, so it's a good thing that I didn't cut off the tail because we're going to use it to attach the pin base. But what I'll do now is I'll go down through that 3mm bead again, the one on the back of the head of our turkey. And I want to make this guy stand proud, so I just want to kind of bring its head kind of a little bit more back. So what I'll do is I just pick up one demi round and just go straight through that 5mm bead and pull tight. This is what's going to make the turkey kind of stand up a little bit more. I'm now going to go around these beads in this circle, the first circle that we made, just a few more times again so that I can pull tight and then make a knot. So I'm just going through the demi rounds and the 4mm in this circle. Okay, and now I can just make a knot by going under some threads here. I'm gonna make one more knot just to be more secure. And hide the tail in my beads. Now I'll cut off this end of the thread, and I'll use this tail here that we left in order to attach the pin base. So I cut off maybe 1/4 of a wingspan, a little bit more. Right now we're almost ready. You can leave it as it is. You can have the legs a little bit shorter if you want it to stand more like upright where you put it. You can make them longer to make them look more dangly when you use it as a pin. But how to attach the pin, that's the question. So it won't be easy considering the plate. You can just stick it on there, but it's never very secure, so you can do that additionally. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to use the beads. And now my tail thread is coming out of the bottom hole of the dagger beads. So I'm gonna go to the top hole. And what I'll do, first I have to separate this pointy part from the closure. And what I'll do is I'm going to use these demi rounds in here to secure the pin in place. Let me show you how. So first up, I'm gonna go through these so that I come out of the demi round, but I am not kind of pulling it all the way. Instead, what I'll do is I'll hook it around the pin here so that it holds it like that. And now with the second one, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna go through this demi round bead. I'm just making sure that I don't lose the pin in the meantime, but I'm going through this demi round and through the next dagger bead and the next demi round here. But before I pull it all the way through, oop, that's too much. I'm going to put this on my needle here so that I pull it. This is what it will look like. And now what I'll do is I push this to the sort of the middle of the tail and kind of pull a little bit so that this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to do the same on here. And as you can see, the plate is the perfect size to fit like in the very center of that tail. Now, okay, I'm going to be going out of this demi round here, and I want to do the very same thing, but the other way around, so that it's just a little bit more secure. So the only thing I do is I actually put the thread the other way and just go through that demi round from the other side. So I'm just kind of turning back in this way around that pin. That's also why I would recommend using Fireline or Wildfire for that, because a nylon thread could break more easily, not only against this kind of metal plate, but also against the bicones in this figurine. It looks kind of weird, but it's going to be quite secure and the thread is really strong, so nothing should happen to it. Now the only thing I need to do is to finish that thread, which I'm going to do by just going back through some of these beads here. So I went through the other hole. Might as well strengthen this row of beads here. So I'm going through the first hole of the dagger beads. And maybe I'll step up to the demi round over here, because it will be easier to make a knot. Alright guys, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you liked it. I hope you find this little turkey funny and cute. All of the materials that I've shown you today can be found at EurekaCrystalBeads.com. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!